Ellen DeGeneres is a widely adored television host, and she always stresses to her audience the importance of being kind to one another. But for the past several years, there have been stories coming to light from people in Hollywood about Ellen not being the person she portrays herself to be, or not being likable at all. Aside from giving viral stars rewards and endorsements, Ellen has built a brand and reputation of treating people with kindness. Since the year 2020 started, she's been the subject of bad press and has not been able to catch a break from the overwhelming amount of accusations against her from Hollywood insiders and former employees. It started in March when beauty influencer Nikki Tutorials spoke out about her experience on The Ellen Show back in January. She appeared on a talk show in the Netherlands and revealed some things that happened behind the scenes, and also said that Ellen wasn't as nice as she thought she would be. She said that Ellen was cold and distant when the cameras weren't rolling. Their interview is in Dutch, but for translation she said, "Let me say that there's a big difference between this show and Ellen DeGeneres, and I'm saying that in favor of this show. It's nice that you said hi before the show. She didn't."
Wil ik meer weten?
Ja, er zijn bepaalde... Kijk, bijvoorbeeld, het is wel heel leuk dat jij wel vooraf hallo komt zeggen en zo. Het is bij Ellen in ieder geval, het is wat ik heb meegemaakt hier en andere landen, is dat gewoon een hele andere wereld. Het zit gewoon iets anders.
Afstandelijke killer.
Tikje.
In another interview, Nikki said, "Call me naive, but I kind of expected to be welcomed with confetti cannons, saying, 'Welcome to the Ellen DeGeneres show.' But instead, I was greeted by an angry intern who was a bit overworked. I was expecting a Disney show, but got Teletubbies after dark." About a week later, while filming her show virtually amid stay-at-home orders due to the pandemic, Ellen made a comment comparing being quarantined in her multi-million-dollar mansion to being in jail.
One thing that I've learned from being in quarantine is that people, this is like being in jail, is what it is. It's mostly because I've been wearing the same clothes for 10 days and everyone in here is gay. The jokes that I have.
She's purchased over 20 houses since 2003, and she told the Today Show that she moves around a lot because she loves architecture and gets bored with styles and aesthetics quickly. Last year, her and her wife Portia bought a $30 million, 8,188 square foot, 5-bedroom, 10-bathroom mansion. So comparing her mansion to jail in the middle of an economic crisis didn't go over well with people. Jails don't usually come with a guest house, a cabana, an infinity pool, a great view, a gym, or a chef and housekeeper. But it wasn't just the public that she angered. Ellen Show crew members were also outraged about the treatment from her and management over poor communication regarding pay, work hours, and the status of their jobs during the global pandemic. They said they didn't receive phone calls or emails checking on their mental and physical health from the high-ups in production or Ellen. Most of the crew was left out of work with reduced pay and had to find out on social media that she hired an outside, non-union tech company to help her tape The Ellen Show remotely from her home instead of just using her employees with the same skills who were already out of work. Even as the show continues to air, crew members are still on a 60% decreased salary. Crew members that work for Jimmy Kimmel Live were paid their full salaries from Jimmy himself since the shutdown. Jimmy Kimmel is worth about $45 million, and Ellen is worth about $330 million. And she's one of the highest paid people in television, earning more than $50 million per year. So if Jimmy can pay his employees out of pocket, so can Ellen. Especially when most of her crew has been with The Ellen Show since they filmed the pilot 17 years ago. On March 20th, comedian Kevin T. Porter tweeted that Ellen DeGeneres is notoriously one of the meanest people alive and encouraged people to respond to his tweet with their stories, and he'll match them with a $2 donation to the LA Food Bank in return. The tweet ended up going viral, and Kevin received over 300 stories and 2,000 replies. Most allege that she hates being spoken to by staff or looked in the eye. One story claimed that she would send her staff at the Ellen Show home if they failed to chew gum before speaking to her. Here are some comments made about working on the Ellen Show. A guy by the name of Josh said, "A friend of mine told me about a custodian she knew who was fired because he was slightly autistic and forgot he wasn't allowed to look at her or speak to her, and he loved greeting everyone." Another friend of mine was a PA on her show, and when Russell Brand came into the employee break area to chat with the crew and hang out, Ellen came in and got mad at him, saying he didn't have to interact with these people. That's why guests have their own area backstage. TV writer Benjamin Simons said, "A. She has a sensitive nose, so everyone must chew gum from a bowl outside her office before talking to her, and if she thinks you smell that day, you have to go home and shower. B. A new staff member was told, every day she picks someone different to really hate. It's not your fault. Just suck it up for the day, and she'll be mean to someone else the next day." They didn't believe it, but it ended up being entirely true. Twitter user Danielle said, "When I was 15, the Ellen Show was doing a contest of fans making a bust of her and sending it to her. I worked so hard on this and even wrote her a letter. Weeks later, she used it as a prop in a game and gave it away to a random person with $500 attached to the bottom." Drag performer Detox said, "An old friend worked on her lot and smiled and said good afternoon to her one day, and she became unhinged. 'Who do you think you are? You don't look at me. Yada yada.' She said Portia was with her and seemed embarrassed and tried to calm her down. Has forever changed my opinion of her." Someone else said, "Working for her, I was instructed that I can't look her in the eyes and never ever say hi to her first. But don't worry, she definitely won't be saying hi to you in the first place. She creates the most toxic environment for her staff." Someone else said, "My sister worked on the Ellen Show for 2 years. This is from her. I saw Ellen in the hallways every day and would say hello, and she never once said hello back. She wouldn't smile. She wouldn't even acknowledge me at all for 2 seasons." And they also emphasized that Portia was always nice. Twitter user Ashley said, "I sent this thread to my BFF because wow, right?" And she replies that her sister's BFF was an intern for Ellen 7-8 years ago. She walked into an elevator with Ellen, and Ellen said, "Interns are not supposed to look me in the eye. Why is she looking me in the eye?" Years ago, singer-songwriter Colum Scott said he was told by a crew member of the Ellen Show to avoid looking her in the eye. As for how she treats employees in the serving industry, Chris Farah said, "I worked at Real Food Daily, served her and Portia at brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but just that it was on my hand. I had worked till closing the night before, and this was the next morning. Almost got me fired." Twitter user Gavin said, "I'm glad you're calling her out. I used to work at a restaurant in LA. Her and Portia would come in weekly. They were awful people, both extremely rude to staff, unpleasant to be around. Since they came so often, I can confirm this to be consistent behavior." Her old bodyguard Tom said that she is the only celebrity that's ever been rude to him and described her as cold, demeaning, and dehumanizing. But he says her wife Portia was very pleasant and thanked him for protecting them. He said Ellen never once took the time to say hi to him. Ellen pretty much gave me a side glance out of her eye and didn't even say hello or thank you for protecting my mother, my wife, and me. It was very cold, and it was very sly, and it was actually kind of demeaning in the way that she treats people other than those who are in her circle. It's bugged me for years. I see this person come across as very enlightened and positive and awesome, and everybody loves her and is in awe, and that's really not the case when you meet her in person. Tom also said that celebrities had to be approved to come and talk to her at her table during a high-profile after-party. When you see her on TV, people fall in love with her, but it is a false facade and bravado. You start hearing these stories, and I was like, man, there's gotta be more to this. She's not the person she portrays to be that she's playing off of society. That's my opinion. I can absolutely see through interacting with her firsthand that she doesn't care about anybody else as long as she's getting what she wants. People are starting to see her true self. And that really lends to the support of what my initial thoughts of her have been over the last 6 years. But it's not just Ellen, it's also the people she has in leadership positions at The Ellen Show. BuzzFeed recently published an article with stories from a dozen anonymous former employees detailing their toxic work environment at The Ellen Show. There's apparently a division between managers and employees. A Black woman working on the show said she repeatedly dealt with microaggressions in the year and a half she worked there. When she was hired, she said a senior level producer told her and another Black employee that they would be mistaken for one another since they both wore box braids. And at a work party, she said one of the main writers told her, "I'm sorry, I only know the names of white people who work here." And other co-workers awkwardly laughed it off. When she brought up the issues and asked them to not make offensive comments, her colleagues called her the PC police and started distancing themselves from her. She said, "Whenever I brought up an issue to my white male boss, he would bring up some random story about some random Black friend that he had and how they managed to get over stuff." She said, "He would use his Black friend as some way to say, 'I understand your struggle.' But it was all performative BS." After a year, she asked for a raise when she found out that a new hire was making double her salary in the same job position as her, although she had 10 years more experience. The managers told her they'd see what they could do, but never gave her a raise. She said producer Ed Glavin made her out to be the angry Black girl when she called for diversity training, and said that she was walking around looking resentful and angry. Since the recent uprising and protests, one of her old managers from The Ellen Show reached out to her to apologize for not being a better ally. The former Black employee ended by saying, "I feel angry about the way I was treated, and I'm always going to stand up for Black, Indigenous, Latino, and Asian people, regardless if they're around. I can't not say anything. I'm not going to stop talking." Another former employee said, "I think it is a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to the show's brand. They pull on people's heartstrings. They do know that's going to get likes and what people are going to go for, which is a positive message, but that's not always reality." One former staffer said the work environment was overwhelmed with fear. "We all have a kind of this isn't normal feeling about how people get treated there. And there's this ushering out the door, or your contract isn't renewed the minute you ruffle anyone's feathers, or you don't show that you're extremely grateful and appreciative to work there." Another employee said, "They feel that everybody who works at The Ellen Show is lucky to work there. So if you have a problem, you should leave because we'll hire someone else because everybody wants to work here." One employee said, "That be kind BS only happens when the cameras are on. It's all for show. I know they give money to people and help them out, but it's for show." Ellen has never spoken out to deny the rumors or stories, but all of these accounts confirm my long-standing suspicions about her. And I'll leave the BuzzFeed article in the description box so that you guys can read more stories from the Ellen employees. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and like this video and subscribe to Black Femininity TV for more content.